Hi, welcome to Reasoning with Rima. On this channel, we deal with all things inspirational, motivational, and often quite emotional. And today we're dealing with the topic of the victim mentality. Do you know the science for it? Do you have it? Or do you know somebody who's suffering from it? Let's check this out. So to have a pity party now and again is pretty common for all of us. But the difference between the average person and somebody who's suffering from a victim complex is that that pity party is temporary. But if you have a victim complex, this goes on and on and on and on. There's always an issue. There's always a problem. There's always something to grumble about. Now, I'm using Khloe because really she's on a public platform, and so it's easy for us to examine her moods and behavior. But Khloe by no means is an exception. Millions of people, in my opinion, are suffering from this complex. I certainly was suffering from it and had to claw my way out of that condition by realizing the reality of it, that it was making my life miserable. So clinical psychologists describe the victim complex in two ways. The first one, which is just a victim complex, is a person who's in a perpetual state of despair, sorrow, misery. And then you've got the martyr complex, which is also a victim complex. But the difference with the martyr complex is that they actually seek out relationships and situations that they will always be a victim in. And this is why I called Khloe to the front, because for the last 4 years, she has been with a perpetual cheater and she will not move on. She complains, she makes noise. She accuses other people, she rants and raves, she does everything, but she will not move on from this situation where she is the ongoing victim, and then Tristan is what? The villain. So what is a cause of a victim complex? Well, it really starts in childhood. Now, it can be something as serious as child abuse or neglect or something serious like that. But it can also be from general little things that make us unhappy. So, if you're this child that wasn't as pretty or clever or as brainy as the other siblings, and then everybody's pointing it out to you, then that can pretty much make you feel miserable on an ongoing basis. And it's that ongoing and consistent misery that starts to frame your mind in the state of being a victim. Now in Khloe, let's look at it. The first thing was that when she went to school, people were like, who are you? You're not one of the Kardashians. Kim and Kourtney, who preceded her at the schools, was dark. They had dark hair. They were small, petite, and, everybody found them very beautiful. But when Khloe went to school, she was tall. She towered over her two sisters. She was fair-skinned, and she pretty much looked nothing like the rest of her sisters. So straight away she was signaled out as the different one, as the odd one out. And feeling the odd one out can almost feel like when you're rejected, which is also another form that creates that victim mindset, that constantly feeling rejected and strange. And then on top of it all, we had all these rumors swirling around, which I'm sure it was going on from her childhood, that Rob Kardashian wasn't her father. No matter what face Khloe might put on it now as an adult, can you imagine as a child that you see Kourtney and Kim and Rob clearly looking like their dad and you clearly looking different and everybody pointing it out? And then Kendall and Kylie come along and they've got a dad. So everybody in the family is hooked up and know who their father is and publicly can declare it, except for Khloe. Khloe is the odd one out. And in my opinion, this is the root cause of her victim mindset. So what are the symptoms of a victim mindset? Well, the first one is that they complain a lot. And they complain, they grumble, they moan, there's always some issue. But if you point it out to them, my goodness, they will either sulk or they will just call you toxic or a hater. They might not say it out to you, but they'll say it in their mind. Or they will do what Khloe did in this situation, which was to let off on her sister Kourtney when Kourtney made the mistake of saying, well, you do complain a lot, Khloe. Here's what happened.
Khloe, I was just thinking you complain a lot.
So get out of my business then. I help you with your kids, I do this and that. I don't have to do shit. I don't even have to fucking be here. You're just so, like, you're telling me I'm critical? Look in the fucking mirror.
So it's normal for somebody with a victim complex to blame everybody and to blame the rest of the world because they truly don't see the problem is from them. When they were a child, the problem wasn't coming from them. So it was natural that they'd feel sad, rejected, lonely, and wanted that sympathy. But as an adult now, when things happen to us, we just have to get over it and move on and not take things so personal. But once you've developed that mindset, you can't really differentiate. So what you see is the outside world is a problem. So when you're sad, unhappy, angry, irritable, whatever it is, it's going to be blamed from somebody outside. Now, let me give you an example of this. When you're in the workplace, for example, and you might have a boss who, I certainly had one, who was miserable, he was cantankerous, he was arrogant, he was just very difficult to be around. But all of the other staff were just tiptoed around him, avoided him and said, oh, don't mind him, that's how he is. On Mondays he's worse. They didn't take it personal. But for somebody with a victim mindset, which is what I had at the time, then I took it very personal. He shouldn't be like this. He should behave this way. He shouldn't talk to people like this. Should. And I had all these rules. And then I'd go home and complain to my husband and grumble to everybody else around me. And then they started to get fed up of my grumbling. And I couldn't understand why they were getting fed up with me when it was he. It was clear that he was rude, that he had no good behavior, that he was cantankerous. But like I said, the problem is when you have a victim complex, you're not centered. So every breeze, every storm blows you right over. Now, in the case of somebody like Khloe, the way she blames people outside is to always make them the villain. So in this example of Jordan, in this case of this new girl that's come along, whoever it is, she will want to make that person the villain, that they shouldn't behave like that, they shouldn't say this, even though that this is behavior that she's probably demonstrated herself. But like I say, victims don't see themselves. And then the other thing is with somebody with a victim complex, is that they're always looking for sympathy, and they actually thrive on sympathy. They don't really expect to ever really be happy. And I think that's why in Khloe's case, she doesn't really want to leave Tristan. Because it's likely that Khloe will hang on to bad relationships because this lifetime distress has always followed her. So she, at the back of her mind, likely knows that even in a new relationship, she's still going to face similar distress. So what is the point in looking for someone new when she expects to face the same problems again, which are really the problems that are inside of her? Now she can put the problem onto Tristan and the focus can be on him, not on her. And she can get what she really wants, which isn't true happiness, but constant sympathy. Khloe's had so much sympathy that for the last 4 years, her situations have got worse and worse. And her fans have been there for her, saying how terrible Tristan is. Khloe should get out. Poor Khloe, poor Khloe, poor Khloe. But truly, Khloe doesn't want to move on. Because one thing with somebody with a victim complex is that they want to control. So rather than let Tristan go, it's easier for her to try and control the situation and keep him there until he pretty much behaves the way that she wants him to. But that isn't going to happen. But like I said, which either way for a victim, it's win-win either way. Because if he stays and continues to make her miserable, she continues to get sympathy from the world. And if he goes, she's going to get the sympathy either way. But if she keeps him and she keeps him under control, then she's achieved exactly what somebody with a victim complex wants. To force that person to be who they want them to be and not who they truly are. So if, like Khloe, your life is full of drama, pity parties, you fear rejection, you fear being alone, there's always issues, then it's likely that you are suffering from a victim complex. And there is no way in this video we can teach you how to get out of it. But to identify it is a brilliant step towards breaking the cycle.